So tonight, we will continue to explore step 10, and Thom Rutledge will lead our discussion tonight.
Hi, I'm Thom Rutledge, and I'm addicted to lots of shit. As I think a lot of you. Oh, wait. See, you got to be careful about these should monsters. They'll slip in on you. It just tries to get between me and the screen. There you go. He recently got some cool shades. No, it's not good. All right. So Alan left me in charge, which I always think is fun. It's like he asked he specifically said, "Can you do step 10 and focus on um you know what blocks us from being truthful about these things what makes us afraid of being truthful when we're doing this inventory, basically admitting that we're wrong." And so of course I wrote to him back and said I'd be glad to do it, but I'm not going to admit that I was wrong. But I like that. So this may not seem like it's as much step 10 as my thoughts on what gets in the way of us, or what we can do about getting to the place of genuine humility. We talk about that a lot in this group, um, and it's in theory it seems wonderful. In practice, sometimes it's one of those simple but not easy things. So I've got my notes here, and I actually made notes for this. How about that? Huh? I'm so proud. But I've titled this Step 10: What's so wrong about being right? Wrong. So it's like, um, and I think in a lot of ways I may be kind of preaching to the choir to a lot of you guys, because I know a lot of people. There's a lot of experience in here. There's a lot of people who've done a lot of hard work, but I was talking to a friend of mine about this today, and I was writing some notes, and I was saying, well, I don't want to just repeat a bunch of stuff everybody knows, and he just reminded me that he says, the whole program's about repetition, because I mean, when's the last time any of us learned anything new or original? It's like, no, we keep learning, things, and it reminded me that I think very recently in this group, I suggested that we're each other's post-it notes. That basically we don't need better memories. We need lots of reminders in our lives, and I love the idea that support group is I mean, and that doesn't mean people in my life and my support who support me have to be specifically reminding me of anything at any given time. Just the fact that you guys exist, reminds me of a lot of things. It's like we come together in a large group like this. We see each other in smaller groups, and just one on one, and a couple of us together, and it helps keep us honest. And it's like, not because we're trying to be dishonest at this point in our lives. There was definitely a period in my life where I was honing my skills to be effectively dishonest. But no, the dishonesty these days is just because we slip. I don't focus enough. I'm not concentrating on the things that are important to me enough. So. Um, what I want to talk about are just some things, and some of them are just things that I've found that have been useful to me and to my clients through the years, in terms of helping to get to that place of what I like to think of as comfortable humility. It's it's because it's not, and many of you probably have stories about this too. I mean, we're going to have some time, I think, for the discussion. And it's like I'd love to hear other people's stories about this, because it's boy, at first it's not comfortable at all. It's like it's the whole idea of getting to a place. First of all, doing an eighth and ninth step work, just going through that rigorous training of just dismantling some of our ego. That's all through the whole program. But specifically for me, um, I think I hid behind the belief that I, I just was arrogant. I hid behind the belief that I knew things and I don't think if you had asked me at any given time, I wouldn't have said, yes, I know more than everybody. I wouldn't say that, but I probably acted like I did. And I maybe inside somewhere I did. And I've always been surprised, amazed, and some of you guys can probably identify with this too, is like amazed that for somebody with such low self-esteem, I could be really arrogant. You know, it's like it seems like it's contradictory, but you know, we know through this process it's not. It's like arrogance is the defense. You know, the truth is more comfortable we are with our own um, just person or who we are and our humility and have humility about it, there's not a need for arrogance. And I'm always pointing out when Alan and I talk about this that we got to recover from both kinds of arrogance. The arrogance that is traditional arrogance, and the other thing that certainly I was one who had a lot of, and that was negative arrogance. You know, I am the piece of shit the world revolves around. You know, it's like, and I would just become so self-absorbed. So, um, I'm gonna go through these little bullet points that I made. I realized that if I was doing a true Alan impersonation, I would have had made these slides. But do you think I know how to make those slides? No, I don't. So, but the first thing is just something I talk to people a lot about, and some people get a little nervous about it. And it's weird. It's just a metaphor, just one more metaphor. And I say think of it as we all have we can all I think picture our one lifetime as many lifetimes. So it's like I use the metaphor of reincarnation in one lifetime. If any, I do this, you can do this on your own. You can do this in a group where you draw a timeline for your time you landed on the earth. And you can probably divide it into different phases where you could say, like, no, there's a clear distinction between this one and this one. And sometimes, I mean, for me, as an example, sometimes those things are actually because of geographic changes or different, because I've lived in many different places. But it's not just that. So I think, but I like when I use that metaphor in general, it comes in handy when we're talking about the 10th step, because to me, what we're doing as we move into the eighth and ninth step, and then to the 10th step, and I can't remember exactly how. I got lots of underlined, but I don't know where it all is underlined. But somewhere in there, I mean, you're really re-entering your life. It's sort of like it's so to me, it would be in our metaphor, it would be the rebirth. We would be coming into this life. And, and if we're really playing with the metaphor of reincarnation in one lifetime, we hopefully are carrying in lessons that we've learned in the past. And, one of the things I always think about is, like, we learn in a lot of different ways, but one of the primary ways that we can learn is by fucking things up. And I know that I'm in a group where we all have plenty to work with that, and I mean that with some humor, but it's also the truth. It's like I love the fact that once I got into solid recovery, that all of that got reframed. That these things were, and you hear Alan talk about this a lot, is turning these things into opportunities, into possibilities. So that's what we're doing with this when we turn this into about learning. So. What I say is our recovery begins. We're moving into our recovering lifetime. Recovering begins, and it's based on, and I'm also still doing some Alan stuff because he talks about this a lot in our podcast, based on learning from experience. It's like, because most of us, I certainly can say this, have a long history from absolutely not learning from my experience. Just going back and forth to, trying to do the same things over and over again, we're coming up with the same results. So the idea that we have a conscious, these are one of the, I always tell, these are some of the stuff that you write down, that you put in your journal, or you literally use a Post-it note, it's like, what are you going to learn, at the end of the day, when you do what the 10 step talks about, the spot check, what are you going to do? How are you going to learn those lessons? Well, I'm going to see what I learn. And if you learn from experience, the other reframe that happens with that is that um, you don't have to do everything good or right, because if our goal is, and this is a big one for me in my just my life. If we I think I've said that, we're too far off the trail here, but I've said this before. I've quoted a friend of mine that died many years ago now, but it was a wonderful, weird, and brilliant friend, and he said this very simple thing to me. I can tell you many stories about Bendel, but it's like this one. It's a very simple statement that just stuck with me, and it's like, it seems like not much on the front end, but it's been a life. It continues to be a life changer for me. And he just said, we were talking about. Yeah, I forget what the conversation was. Is we were talking about fundamentalism and people who are so strict with their beliefs, and they insist everybody believe like they do. And what he said was just simply, beliefs are choices, and period. And then that's what he said. But he's much more concise than I am, and I've continued the conversation and got a little bit more about what he meant. And what he said, I said, well, okay, what are you not saying about that? And he said, well, first of all, your belief does not have to be based on objective reality. It's like, it doesn't matter whether what you believe is actually objectively true or not. It's like, it's still your choice to believe. And then, but coming from that, he says, you also don't have there's no need, no responsibility, no need to convince anyone of your belief system. You don't have to recruit. We don't have to bring, and we know that. I mean, we're in a 12-step program that basically is based on, attraction, not promotion. We understand I mean, and I think I was talking to somebody earlier today who has a young son, or adolescent in recovery to begin with. And we were kind of reviewing some of the other therapies he's had and stuff. I go like, as long as somebody's going to power struggle with an adolescent, but with any of us really, then it's not going to be helpful. We need to be able to get in there, and if I want to influence somebody's beliefs, which I would if I was working if I'm working with an addict, I don't go in by telling them they're wrong and my beliefs are right. I go in by as a therapist, I experience, strength, and hope, but talk about what my beliefs are. And the other thing about beliefs that I love a term that comes up a lot in the Stoicism that I read on a regular basis, have for several years now. It's like, and one of the terms they use is guiding principles. I like, somehow that just really speaks to me. And so these beliefs become guiding principles. And the simplest example of that I can think is the belief that we are here to learn. It's like, and if somebody was, when I was younger, if somebody said, so is that right? Do you know how the universe works? If I was 25, I would have said, well, yeah, I do know. And that's what it is. Now you get, I have a sign on my wall that says, wisdom is the accumulated knowledge of my ignorance. So the older I get, the more comfortable, talk about humility, the more comfortable I am in saying, your guess is as good as mine. Or of one of my favorite authors, her name is Sonia Choquette. When people question some of this, she's kind of on the far outside, and some spiritual stuff for some people, and people will question that stuff. And she has this wonderful line that she just uses very comfortably, which I think we can all use, and it's just, it works for me. We're not trying to sell it to somebody else. But the idea of getting up every day with the belief that if I didn't, I have others, but if I had nothing else but the belief that my job is to be here on earth and to learn. then every day, I mean, there's no excuse for every day not to have some success in it, because even if I fuck everything up, if I'm paying some attention, or if I'm looking at Patrick right now, if I'm running this past Patrick at the end of the day, and so my lights are flashing. At the end of the day, if I miss it, he's gonna point something out, and so I'm gonna have learned something. It's like, and sometimes they may be powerful lessons. Sometimes lessons can be as simple as, I always call them the ought nots. You ought not do that. And so, if I do something and I learn it and go like, well, that's not the way to go. And we'll do it. And it makes a world of difference. Um, and I love another idea that I think is very present in this program, but is spoken a lot of in the Stoicism that I work with is um, every day my job is to get up and be the best version of myself that I can be. And the best version of myself is defined. I think Marcus Aurelius defines it as being being compassionate and kind to myself, and productive, and also being compassionate to other people. It's simple as that. And when I love to simplify things like that, because I can accomplish a lot more in most days, but I can always accomplish that. There's really, and if I'm saying I'm not, then I'm making excuses, and it becomes, it makes that easier for that tough, loving voice to come in and go like, we're not buying that, Thom. So, should be like one more thing I was going to say about that, but I can't. I guess I'll just say as we move on here, my favorite, and actually probably one of the more popular nutshells I have that people ask about a lot of times, is just learn from the past, then get the hell out of there. I think it's one of Alan's favorite, Joe. It's just like, and so often we all have that history. I learned from the past, and then I just ruminate about it. It's like, it's just, think about it again and again and again, or worry about it. But no, just take the lessons and go. And to me, that's a big part of what we're here to do. And it does connect to step 10, because that's what step 10 is. It's a learning step. It means a constant learning step. I'm going to be doing this on a day-to-day. My plan is to be practicing that 10th step for the rest of my life. So and what I'm going to be doing every time I'm doing that, I'm in a learning process, and I want to see myself in that way. Um, the next piece was, I was saying, okay, as we go back to the reincarnation thing, as we contract with ourselves on our moving back into life after the previous steps, is based on certain characteristics. That I want to come into this life, and everybody can come up with their own characteristics that you want to be able to deal with. And I actually use the word characteristic a lot, because my first sponsor in AA, when we talk about character defects, we talked about, in this group we talk about character defaults. He just said characteristics, because he made this great point. I thought it was a great point. He said every characteristic has its application, and every fault, everything you have. And so, like his example would be, if you're going on vacation, you take the lazy guy, because he's a good guy to vacation with. You don't take the hyper alert, always OCD person who wants everything to be just perfect. You leave him at home to organize your office, whatever you want to do. But the idea is, it's it's not so much as it's a bad thing or a good thing. It's like the same thing with feelings. It's like, no, it's like, what are we doing with these things? But you want to be on the upside of these characteristics. And the ones I use, there's four of them that I use. They're not particularly unique to me, but they're the four I've just landed on. Is honesty, courage, justice, which is just fairness, and wisdom. it's I want, I like checklists, so that when I'm doing spot check that talking about in the 10th step, when I'm just paying attention to how I'm doing in life, if I'm not focused someplace, I can go back to those. All of those things will help me focus. Honest, how am I doing with my honesty? One of the things when I tell you that right then, I actually I can tell you immediately one of the issues that occurs for me, still does, is when I bring up honesty. I've got a little yes but guy in there that goes like, yeah, but they're not being honest. It's like, and it's like, and he just showed up without any content just now, just getting in the way of my talk here, and I'm going like, or contributing to my talk, I should say. Um, it's like yeah, and the whole thing about living your life and being the best version of yourself in 10th step is certainly a big element of that to me. Is It's not, one of the things we're not going to do is we don't concern ourselves with things we can't control, and other people we can't control. And it's like, and I can't emphasize that one enough, because um I don't know how I did that for so many years, but I don't think I'm the Lone Ranger with this. But a lot of these things, and some of the slogans in AA, they're concepts, and I would hold on to them as concepts and think they're good concepts. But that and if you had asked me, I would have said, yes, I am putting them into work to practice in my life. But I don't think so, not as much as I could. I think one of the things that's happened for me in the last few years, I think that really, I went into a growth spurt around the COVID thing when we all went underground. Um, and one of the things I really got into is the idea of I need to be a lot more strict with myself about what I consider a practice. And it needs to be something it needs to be something repetitive, something that I do on a not regular basis, but a daily back basis. And I need to, and when I lose my place, I need to know how to get back right back on it. And so all of these things are those things, and including just being aware of those virtues. Um, it's just, and then the caution I had that goes with that is just simply say, don't ever think that you can't just make the same mistakes that you have in the past. I mean, just because you have, especially when you're going through the program, you know, the program can offer all kinds of things. We offer all kinds of opportunities for each other to change, and we get support and all this stuff. But we don't get rid of anybody, so everybody's still in here, and that's not to be harsh on ourselves. My addiction still is there. My should monster, he's right over here, and but they don't go away. But also, just forget about the specific characters, just some of those basic habitual ways of being. That's part of what I want to be able to do. And for me, it shows up in 10th step, because, I'm going to be paying more attention to myself as I'm doing the spot checks and thinking about things at the first of the day and spot checking at the end of the day. I'm going to become aware that a lot of this stuff isn't because of my addiction. It's because of just who I've been. And I mean, I think most of us can identify with the fact that, nobody ever taught us, or nobody ever taught me, I'll speak myself, um, that one of the problems I could have in life is just being lazy. And I don't mean about getting stuff done. I mean about paying attention to who I am and what I need to be doing, and not forgetting that to consider the fact, not everybody, you don't have to do this, but it's like, I think at any given time, we ought to have some response to the question of what do you think we're doing here? What do you think we're doing here on Earth? It's like, I don't care what the answer is. It's like, and I don't care if it's accurate, because, maybe we're just here on Earth somebody's experimenting to see what happens when people live for a while and then they die. Maybe that's it. But I'm not satisfied with that. I'm going to make more of my life than that. You guys are going to make more of your life than that. And so, and I forgot exactly where I was going with that, but it was brilliant. I was absolutely brilliant. So let's see here. Yeah, and the last thing about just one thing I was going to say about humility is just I love the idea of, and I think Alan and I came up with this back in the days when we were first doing the evolution, or our workshops that we did in person out in Los Angeles, the evolution of addiction treatment, is that basically humility. When you're in humility from your arrogance and your negative arrogance, we're really on in a, we're in a, and it's just like being in an AA meeting, to tell you the truth. It's like we're in common ground. It's like, one of the things where no, I'm not better nor worse. You're not better nor worse, and hopefully we can carry that out into the world. I think I've learned a lot how to do that. And it certainly is a better way. It feels better to be that way rather than hold myself, above others. It's like, I had recently. You guys can check me if I'm being mean. I don't mean to be mean. I'm just using this as an example. I just ran into a contact with a therapist who, I was talking to, because I have a client who previously saw this therapist, and I like this guy. I knew him today, but he just had this attitude that because he was a therapist, he knew more. You know, I mean, he does know some things more than his client does, or he knows more than I know about certain things. But to think you know more about another person, because of what your training is, just doesn't make sense to me. So it's like, um, it's yeah, and so I don't want to be that way. I want to be in the common ground. So. And now, say, well, parts of the solution. It's like, so I think we probably talked about some of this along the way, but I've got parts of this. Let me just read this because I forgot what I wrote. Um, believe that we are here to learn. We learn from screwing up, and we learn from doing things well, and we learn from just experimental mindedness by doing things and correcting our mistakes. Sometimes 10th step may involve. It does involve, for the most important thing to me about 10th step is that I'm acknowledging it for myself. It's like, yeah, because there are plenty of times that I think that things happen like that they don't even get to the place where I really feel any need, or that it makes a lot of sense for me to go make amends to that person, because I don't think that person was even aware of what was happening with that. Now, there are plenty of other times where I've had to do that. But now, and I'll tell you what, if you want to get yourself, if you want to motivate yourself to do better on a day-to-day basis, be fully committed. Because I became at one point just full and remain that way, but fully committed to, if I make a mistake, if I mistreat somebody in any way, I'm going back. And one of the things I learned over time is it doesn't matter how far I have driven away from wherever that was. I don't care if I was just rude to somebody in a grocery store line. I'm going back. And so, I mean, it's one of those examples of the multiple things, because I remember one time I was really I had been really rude to somebody who was the checkout person at the grocery store, and I mean, I was well almost home. It's like, and so I'm going like, oh shit, you can't hear what's going on in my head, but it's going like, turn around, it's like, I don't want to turn around. It's like, no, turn around, man. And so you go back and do that. But I've never done that where it wasn't a wonderful experience. Now, sometimes I've done it where people are just confused. I just confuse people because they don't understand what I'm doing, and they stay confused. But that's a little. I mean, it's maybe me, but it's a little entertaining. A lot of times, and this is, I don't know if this is maybe a male thing. A lot of times when people that I've just gone away from and coming back toward them, they think I'm coming back to fight. It's like, and I mean, nothing here to be scared of. It's like, but when I actually got into that, one of my favorite times I did that, I just want to tell this example because I love this. I was in a Burger King parking lot one morning getting my coffee, and the sun was the morning sun. It was right in my eyes. It was right in everybody's eyes. And so this guy was backing out, and I mean, he was. I mean, I could see he was coming right for me, and I mean, he stopped. not an inch from my front bumper, and then pulled on up and parked. And so I went around immediately and pulled up and got out of my car and started walking over to his car. Now, it didn't even occur to me at the time, but I realized by the time I got there and how he was responding, he was thinking I was coming to yell at him or fight or something like that. But this was actually the truth. I was so proud of it. I was going like, I just want to tell you that your reflexes are amazing. I said, there's no way I could have been in that same situation and caught myself before I made contact. You did a beautiful job. Thank you so much. And what I figure is I mean, he would have been he didn't need that. He was fine either way. But I feel like I probably did give him a good story. Hopefully he tells that strange story today, and but anyway, my point there was, if you do that and you're really rigid with yourself, eventually, sometimes I'll say it this way: sometimes I'm good and I'm nice, I'm polite, because and reasonable because that's how I am as a person. Sometimes I'm that way just because I don't want to go back and do it again. So it's like I'm just going like, I want to just fuck this, but I'm going like, nah. I know that it's going to be more work for me later, so that works for me. Let me see what else here. Get to a play. I want to get to a place where we have time to share. Um, let me just say this in closing. It's just that when we are fully engaged in step 10, we are not pessimists nor optimists. We are realists. And this is that place we've talked a lot about that in this group through the last months and years. We are no longer offended by reality. We are no longer wasting our time contemplating things that are beyond our control. And man, I mean that kind of energy efficiency will turn it all around. And I may have scattered all over the place to make this to be sure this is about step 10, but step 10 to me is a pivotal, essential ingredient in my day-to-day life to accomplish all of that stuff.
The going
Mhm.
back later to account for
Mhm.
things that you missed in the moment. I feel like that's a big part of my step 10, is just I miss all kind of things in the moment, especially the further I get into my recovery, the busier I get because the more capacity I build to be able to show up in my life and show up for other people. But
Mhm.
I make mistakes all the time. And so, yeah, part of that maintenance, it's not just writing the inventory that you send to your sponsor. It's, kind of practicing the practice.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just loved your story about no matter how embarrassing it is, or if it's a little thing, then that's fine. Go back and deal with a little thing. It's
Well,
not a good reason
I
not
mean,
to. Yeah.
tell me this is not your experience, Patrick. It stops being embarrassing because, I mean, I actually have a nutshell now that Roger helped me write that just says, don't be too proud of, forget what it was. Don't get carried away with your pride of your humility. So I don't want to do that. But it's like, no, because now it just feels good to do that. I love being somebody who basically, if I'm doing that, then I have basically I have enhanced my self-esteem that at that moment. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, I'll get over it and feel better. It's like, no, I feel really good that I'm practicing this program and I'm that meticulous about it. So yeah.
And yeah, and just like anything, the more you do it, the more natural it'll feel, and it'll just be
Yeah.
part of
It's
an
just, it's
extension of
about,
who you are. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna not do it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So,
Good.
Julia.
You do it because it's the right thing to do, and you
Hmm.
intuitively know what the next thing is to do. Yeah.
It's it.
Things that used to baffle
Intuition.
us.
Yeah.
Um, I have a bunch of notes here. I got back from Germany yesterday and I'm a little jet lagged. So I'm gonna the main one of the main things that came up to me for me in step 10 is the difference between making mistakes and actually doing something wrong. There are a
I
lot
love
of
that.
little mistakes that I make during the day that are I'm trying my best. It's an honest error. Nobody was hurt.
Yeah.
Um,
Not that this guy doesn't need to have an
and it
opinion.
And it happened today at this meeting. I asked Rhonda to read Bill's letter earlier than we normally do, right? And my should monster came in and said, "Oh,
Hmm.
you did it wrong. You messed up the meeting, Julia. They're not
Yeah.
going to let you do this again." right?
You're done. You're done.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, no, like I didn't do anything wrong. We're okay. But that's there, right?
That's
Um,
perfect. Yeah.
yeah. And for
I
me,
mean,
you talked about going back and
mhm,
making amends for, maybe not being as kind as you could be.
mhm,
Um, and I do that too. But for me, it's also a lot of the time making myself show up for things. For
yeah.
my big thing is fear. When I want to, shut down or not participate, it's the opposite. It's showing up in
Right.
the first
Right.
place. And did I do that today? And one more thing I would love to share just is while I
Mhm,
was in Germany, um, I sort of changed up my morning meditation, and I started reading Just for Today from AA. And there's just a couple of
mhm.
things that are like, this is very old-timey sort of the language, but I love it. So I'm just going to read
Yeah.
a couple paragraphs.
Okay.
One of them is, just for today, I will adjust myself to what is and not try to adjust everything to my own desires. I will take my luck as it comes and fit myself to it. Just for today, and I can't read the other side. Um, just for today, I will have a program. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have it. And I will save myself from two pests, hurry and indecision. And just for today, I will be unafraid, and I especially will not be afraid to enjoy what is beautiful.